I will call the Board of the Brimfield Township Board of Zoning Appeals Wednesday, August 19th to order. It is 7:02. All right. We could get a roll call.
Scott Etling is absent. Bruce Nippenberg.
Here.
Ms. Murdocco.
Here.
Ed Schutte is absent. Sean Phillips.
Here.
William Kramer is absent. Clayton Popick.
Here.
And Clayton, you will be a voting member.
Okay.
Also present is Mike Ladd, Economic Development Director and Zoning Inspector, myself, Zoning Secretary, Jendi Miller, and Brian Gardner, our IT Director.
We have minutes from July 15th to approve. Do we have enough people that were here last month?
That's a good question. Let me see. We have 4 people that, let me double check. Ed was here. So yeah, we will have, okay, because I can send them and get a verbal from Ed and Scott.
Okay.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from last meeting. I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion second to approve the minutes from July. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All righty. Okay. We have an agenda for this evening. Does someone, everything on the agenda is correct?
It is.
Okay, and everybody was notified and all the proper legal so forths were sent out.
Yes. Letters
Right.
for all of the variances were sent out. I have received some responses and the legal notice was posted.
We have a motion on the agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented. I'll
I'll
second that.
second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty. And then we would like to swear in all of the applicants and those who may be making comment this evening. I will read the read it out and then let Jendi call you by name then to say whether or not you accept it. So do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you will give before this board is to the best of your knowledge an accurate and truthful presentation of the facts? So when your name is called, please say, "I do," if you so agree, and then state your name and what case you're related to.
Eric Reinhardt.
I do agree. My name is Eric Reinhardt. I don't have our case number, but it's for the use of the barn on our property.
And TJ, will you be speaking as well?
Sure, yes, I do.
Great, okay.
Yeah, Reinhardt, same issue.
Thank you, thank you. And then for Hickory Creek, I'm not sure who all is here for Hickory Creek.
Patrick Long for
Okay.
Hickory Creek.
Yep, okay, Patrick.
And John Walsh with GBC Design, and I do.
Hi, John. Okay, great.
Kimberly Hutchings, Hickory Creek.
I'm sorry, Kim, what?
Kimberly Hutchings for Hickory Creek.
Oh, okay.
Brad Booth at Hickory Creek as well.
I'm sorry, Brad, what was your last name?
Booth?
Great, thank you. Okay. And then do we have Jared Vansel?
Yes, I
Great.
do.
Thank you. Okay.
Righty. Our first application is for Eric Reinhardt, Eric and TJ Reinhardt owners, 3061 Sunnybrook Road, Mogador. It's a conditional use request, applicant requesting conditional use permit allowing rental of a barn on the property for small gatherings up to 60 people. Zoning resolution section 303.01 and 303.02, residential 1 district does not allow that use. So if you would please tell us what it is that you want to do, and basically describe if anybody in the area if you've talked to the neighbors, so forth on it.
Yeah, so we have a 1901 bank barn on our property that what we would like to do is get it fixed up and renovated back to its original state, as close to that as we can get it, basically. And then use it for smaller gatherings, just like you said. So it could be a very small wedding reception. It could be a graduation party, obviously after COVID and all those things go down, but wedding showers, baby showers, that kind of thing. We thoroughly enjoy sharing our property and think it's a great venue to do so. And we have spoken to our closest neighbor, which would be really the only one that could see, and we're great friends with them, and so we're all good there. So, and right now it's, we're not changing the barn, we're not adding to the barn, we're just simply fixing it up as it is to make sure it's safe and available for use for that.
Okay. Mr. Zoning Inspector, anything from the zoning department?
So no, I mean, basically that's it. You're looking at the zoning resolution. It is, the purpose is 303.01, and that's evidently residential use, low density. And then under permitted use, there was really nothing. This particular R1 section doesn't give the authority for uses not covered come before the BZA. So they would be coming under 303.02B7, which would be a home-based business. That's the only thing that I could find that it would be close to it. So that's all.
Okay. Okay, so do we have any?
As far as variances, they need a use approved. If there's going to be variances, we'd have to look at a later time to see if anything would be needed. But right now, I don't see anything.
Ready? Okay, do we have any questions from the board?
Is there adequate parking for that facility?
There will be. It'll be. We have we have just over 8 acres total, and so we have plenty of space. It would be in the field, basically, kind of behind the barn, back to the left and behind the barn.
It'll be
but
what,
for that
gravel?
smaller venue, yeah, we have plenty of space for that.
Okay, so it'll be gravel or pavement, or
No, it would just be grass parking.
just park on the grass and hope there's no mud?
Well,
Not for a while.
yeah, the areas that we've marked off for get very good drainage. It's actually kind of on a hill, so it's not an issue there.
Right. Exterior of the barn, are you going to be lighting it? Sending, I mean, basically all we're concerned about would be any light that would leave the property, bother people driving past, so forth.
Sure.
Strobe lights, that kind of thing.
So there's would be the northeast corner, there's a security light, so that's already there. We wouldn't be changing that. Any other lighting we would put on there would be simply decorative along the Christmas lights, ambiance type things. There'd be no spotlights or anything crazy like that outside.
No big banners flying around or anything.
No big banners flying around. We thought about the blimp, but I don't might not be appropriate. So
Maybe next year.
Yeah.
None of those blow up dolls that wave their arms.
We have one of those already. We don't need any more of those.
Okay.
That's just what for us.
Yeah.
All right, so you're saying a maximum of 60 people?
Yeah, with the size of the barn, that's all that would fit inside of the barn, yes. So we're not planning on expanding it at all.
And will we need approval from the fire department, or?
That's our,
You'd need approval from building and fire.
yeah.
So if you approved it here tonight, we'd have to issue zoning certificates based on, and I'd have to look at the parking to see if it meets the code. If he's talking about grass only, it may not meet the code for this home-based business, might have to be gravelled. But we'd look, once this use is approved, then I can probably take a look at it a little bit more, see if there's anything else needed. But, you know, right now, as far as the parking would be concerned, you know, that would be possibly a variance if they're doing grass only. But once the zoning certificate is issued, if it's issued, then it would go to building department and fire department for their permits.
What are your planned hours of operation?
And I guess that would be a question for the board. I think if we were to do a small wedding, that would typically be on a Saturday, and our thoughts were something along the lines of a 6 to 11, nothing later than that.
And maybe like music, if there's a reception or something, music would be ending at like 10, so that they could clean up and be out by 11 at the latest. That was kind of our gauge. We didn't know if that was something we needed to ask you.
Okay, the music would be in the barn, or and any planned fireworks or?
Nope.
We have run into this before.
No, because we thought about that too, but we were afraid we were going to hit the blimp. So
Right. Okay, so there would be no fireworks. You'd be closing by 11. Music stops at 10.
Yep.
No dancing, girls, balloons, all that
Well,
stuff.
I can't prohibit dancing women at the reception, but
Well,
not the one
that part
you're
you
thinking
can't control.
I think he's talking about before the wedding, like the bachelor party or bachelor.
No, none of that.
You anticipate any noise complaints?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, the acoustics in the barn are actually pretty good, and so we wouldn't really have to be blaring the music too terribly loud. And so, and again, we're great friends with our neighbors that would be the only ones that would be really kind of impacted by that at all, right next door, and they're just great people, and they're.
How far from that location? How far are you from your neighbor?
From that barn, it's probably a couple hundred yards to their house.
And the development behind you, how far is that?
Oh, that's probably 10 times that from where the barn's going to be.
And it's buffered by trees too on the other two sides. So there's a small woods that would buffer that, plus a field and other things.
But that's also why we thought we'd limit that to 10 o'clock. Music's done by then, so we're not being too loud too late.
A year-round operation, or?
It would be, although we don't have plans to heat the barn. So if you want to have a wedding shower and it's 20 degrees out, I guess we could accommodate that. But we don't have any plans to heat it, and so it would more than likely be a spring to fall kind of thing.
All right. But your request would be for year-round?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
And 7 days a week?
If necessary, again, it's going to be heavy weekends. But if somebody wanted a Tuesday night, and I envision if we did a weeknight, then it would be, it wouldn't be a wedding reception. It would be something much quieter, and we would probably limit the noise or stop it at 9 or something along those lines. So the request would be for 7 days a week. I don't envision it being 7 days a week, probably more like 2.
Okay. Everything catered, or will there be facilities to prepare food inside the barn?
Everything catered.
You'd probably have to provide some handicap parking too, as well, just so you're aware of if you're going to have events. But a building will probably hit it a little bit harder than we will, but just so you're aware of that, as well as lighting, proper lighting for the ADA accessibility.
Okay.
How close is I seen the picture, but how close is that parking to the building?
So I thought, well, it's just basically right behind it, so it's pretty close.
Okay.
Behind it and to the side of it.
Up to the ramp. It goes to actually the entrance of the barn.
Yeah.
And they would only access the top part. The bottom is what we use for storage. So it'd only be that single story that we would be using to host events. So nothing below.
I see the picture with them. So it won't be where all these ladies are sitting for the birthday party?
Right. Yeah, just the top section.
Top section.
I didn't include any pictures of the bottom section because it's just all,
It's gross.
it's all our storage stuff and it's mostly spider web.
Oh, okay. So this area is what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Do we have any more questions or comments from the board? Jendi, was there any comments, emails, anything come in yet?
No, I haven't had any complaints or anything. No comments at all on it.
Alrighty. So again, I guess if we feel, if someone is inclined to make a motion, I'm looking for the hours of operation. So you're saying 6, or do you want earlier in the day than that?
It could be earlier in the day. You know, potentially we could have someone who would get married, have the actual ceremony here, and then have the reception afterwards.
So
it
noon to
could be-
11 kind of thing?
Yeah,
I mean, all these I'd like, if it's a conditional use
Sure.
for a home-based operation, I'd like to set some of the conditions. So I'm
Okay.
trying to come up with hours of operation that you're comfortable with and that the board's comfortable with.
okay,
So we're looking at 7 days a week. Sunday through Thursday, you'll be done by 9 or 10.
correct.
And then Friday or Saturday, music done at 10, closing at 11.
Correct.
Any lighting on the outside of the building would be strictly for access, security, and none of it will flood onto the neighbor's property or the streets.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. The outside of the barn, how much will it be changing?
As little as we can, but there are some holes in the siding, and some of the siding is going to need replaced. But we're going to try to keep the integrity of the outside the same as much as possible.
So from the road, it will be pretty much look like it does now.
Correct.
Correct. Yep.
Yep.
That's the goal.
Do we have any other conditions the board might want to look at?
I think you covered them all.
I would possibly have structural questions, but that's probably more a building department issue than mine.
So,
You might want to
Yeah.
put, you might want to put a limit on the number of people
Oh,
that
that-
they can have.
yeah, with the maximum number of people, 60, that's what you're saying?
60 is the number we came up for seated people. So if they had a reception there and we had, say, 5-foot round tables, 60 would be the maximum, including, say, like a wedding party, whatever. So if it was standing room, that could be different. There could be more. Or if there's assembly seating, that kind of thing. If the wedding actually took place in the barn and we just had rows of chairs, that number might increase. But I don't see it going anywhere near, like, 75, 100, maybe max. So
here-
60 was the number we started with for seated capacity.
Well, you would have wait staff, I guess, if it's catered.
Sure.
If
So 60 plus wait staff.
Yeah.
Right.
And we can't, I mean, you could set a maximum number
Right.
as a board, but the fire department might come in and say 40 per the fire code. So
Okay.
Right.
you'll be,
That's fine.
you could be stuck with a lesser amount. Yeah.
Okay.
Just so you're aware.
That's fine.
So does 75 work for you then as a maximum number of, or a maximum occupancy? Of course, the fire department could overrule us on that.
Yeah, I would say so based on the size. I think, yeah, we're good with that.
Alrighty. Okay, anything else that we might want to cover? Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve it with all the stipulations that you mentioned. You have all those, Jendi?
I do.
Okay. I guess we should include the lack of no fireworks and
Right.
that was a serious issue at the last.
Yes, I
place.
understood. I didn't mean to make light of it, but yeah, no, no fireworks.
All right.
Andy, did you put the blimp thing in there or?
Yeah, it's in there.
Okay, good.
That's
good,
an
okay.
addendum.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we do have a motion and a second. Well, I guess because of the hesitance on the second, any other further questions or comments? Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Bruce Snippenberg,
Yes.
Vince Murdocco,
Yes.
Sean Phillips,
Yes.
Clayton Popick.
Yes.
Okay. You can see the zoning inspector and he'll lead you through the rest of it. If
Okay,
there's any
great.
variances, we'll see you back here again.
Okay,
Good luck.
thank you.
Yes, good luck. Thank you.
Are we okay to log off or?
Yeah.
Yes, you
Okay.
can stay,
All right,
you
very
can
good.
stay and watch, or you can log off. You can go to YouTube and watch.
All right, perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks, you all. Have a great night.
Yep, you
Thank
too.
you. All right. The next number of items on the list is first would be a conditional use application. The applicant is Hickory Creek, Melody Road. We have 4 parcels listed, a conditional use request. Applicant requesting conditional use for PRD, Planned Residential Development, zoning resolution section 400.10B56, Planned Residential Development. Conditional use is required for any and all PRDs regardless of district. All righty. Mr. Zoning Inspector, would you like to lead us off on this?
So yes, this plan was actually submitted to regional planning, and I got contacted by the engineer's office, and I says, wait a minute, I didn't see the plan yet. So yeah, after talking with GBC and Patrick Long, we had a meeting in my office. I have the plan. It is a little bit different than the previous plan that was approved last time. This plan is also, it was expired, so definitely have to come back for a conditional use. And then there's several variances and variance requests after that, and once or if it is approved.
Right.
I also have 12 letters that I need to read into the record.
All right, thank you. Okay, who would like to kick off for the representatives of Hickory Creek?
Patrick Long for Hickory Creek. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
So this plan is essentially the same as the one that was submitted to and approved by this board in March of 2019. The prior entity that had anticipated developing this property elected not to go forward, and my group arranged to purchase the land and intend to construct the project consistent with the prior approvals. The zoning code doesn't really make arrangement for the renewal of a conditional use. So we're back before you essentially asking for the same thing that was approved a year ago. Michael mentioned some minor changes to the plan. I do want to emphasize that the street layout, lot sizes, lot counts, and overall design of the project are very much the same as approved. The only minor differences that have been made are some shifting of some of the open space corridors, the areas between lots that access open space, etc. And all of that was done as a result of meetings that we've had with the Portage County Engineer's Office and their request for configuration of stormwater easements and things of that like. Guess at this point, I'll ask, are there any questions regarding the conditional use or the project design, layout, et cetera?
And then, Mr. Chairman, this is John Walsh. We did submit a letter to the board, kind of reiterating what Pat said, and then kind of going through the, the code items that you guys review it. Do I need to read that into the record, or does the submitted copy satisfy that?
If you would, go ahead and read it in.
Okay. It was a letter dated July 30th, 2020 to the Brimfield Township Board of Zoning Appeals. Letter states, on behalf of Hickory Creek LLC and Hickory Creek Subdivision, preliminary plan dated July 30th, 2020 is submitted for your review and consideration as a conditionally permitted use residential development submitted to the provisions of Chapter 4 and Section 400.10.b, subsection 56 of the Brimfield Zoning Code. The Hickory project was presented and approved by your board in March of 2019. And as Patrick stated, is because of some delays of the previous applicant and the due diligence of the Hickory LLC, the project is delayed. The construction is not started, which would have, grandfathered in the previous approval. So we're back before you asking for really a renewal or reapproval of that. The plan is essentially the same. Street locations, layout, lot count, size, width, depth, all remain the same. In addition, we've incorporated the following features that were conditions of the prior approval: landscape screening and mounding, signage and restricting construction access through the existing subdivision to the east, and a walking trail. We believe we have met the purpose and objective of the PRD code. The planned residential development. This is, I guess what I'm going to do is read the portion of your code and then kind of our response to that. Your code states that the planned residential development is established to promote the health and safety of the community through the application of flexible land development techniques in the arrangement and construction of dwelling units and roads. The PRD zoning permits the reduction of the infrastructure required to produce the lots, the same number of lots, which translates to a reduction of the future maintenance cost to the township. The open space requirement provides buffers to the adjacent properties and allows all of the proposed lots to back up to a permanently preserved open space area. Second item is your code. The regulations maximize the conservation of a significant portion of the site while retaining uniform density and development rights for the property owner. Our response is the project preserves 58.5 acres, greater than 63% of the original 92.7 acre parcel, because of the open space. Next item, the flexibility is intended to create enhanced living environments through the preservation of agriculture and rural character and the protection of environmentally sensitive lands, wildlife habitats, scenic views, landscapes through the creation of the permanent open space. We believe that this layout accomplishes all the above. If you're familiar with the site, predominantly where we show proposed lots is currently agriculture. And then a lot of the open space that is being preserved is either wooded or wetlands, or a good portion that the southeast part is agriculture. Your next section, in addition to the total number of dwelling units permitted within the PRD, the development is increased compared to the number of building lots that would be permitted on the site were developed as a conventional subdivision. It says see section E. And if you look on the plan, we've got a whole bunch of calculations on there that I think states that we comply with the density increase allowed by the code. And then we've included 4 variance requests to be considered. Jenny, I think that was modified to 5. Is that correct?
Correct. Correct, it was, John. Yes.
Yep. And 2 of the variances were previously granted in the 2019 submittal. The first was the 5-foot variance for the side setback from 15 feet to 10 feet to section 400.1056L3. This variance allows the building envelope to increase by 10 feet on each lot by allowing the homes to be constructed while maintaining a 10-foot building separation.
20 foot in total.
20
Yeah.
foot, yeah, 20 foot in total.
Okay.
10. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
John, I don't
10,
mean
10
to
feet.
interrupt, but I don't
No,
mean to
that's-
interrupt, but let's go into the variances once they vote on
Okay.
the conditional use, and then we could go one by one.
Right.
All right.
I do, prior to any voting though, I do need to enter these into the record, these emails from residents.
All right, go ahead. This would be a good time.
Okay. The first one is from Jennifer Barber. I have been a resident of Brimfield and a Malloy Road homeowner for 20 years. I am against all 5 of the requested variances and conditional use that Hickory Creek LLC is requesting. We as a township have to control the number of homes that are being built in this area of the township as it is getting out of control. Developers are trying to build as many homes as they can get away with, only to improve their bottom line with no respect to the residents who live here. The amount of homes with the tiny lot sizes that Hickory Creek LLC is trying to build on this piece of property is going to be a detriment to the home values already in place in this area. Not to mention, this amount of homes will only increase the amount of cars that travel up and down Malloy Road on a daily basis, which is already a serious safety concern to the residents who live here. If all other developers are held to the zoning regulations in the township, then why should Hickory Creek not have to abide by them as well? Very similar variance requests were just voted down across the street in the future development plans of the Walden Point development by many concerned residents. Developers should be held up to our township regulations, or they should take their development plans somewhere else. We don't need any more developments in this section of the township anyway. Brenda Patak. First, I want to say I am not happy with any of these requests. I understand they need to cram as many as they can into a small space, but as the resident at the end of Brower Tree Lane has seen, this is wetland, and by moving all this land around, you are opening up a can of worms with regards to water flow. Please see as noted that 1, I oppose the setback variance from 15 to 10 feet as it will reduce the open space. I was under the impression that Brimfield Township wanted to preserve open space. I oppose the building separation from 35 to 20 feet. This puts property too close together for an aesthetic view. If they do consider themselves an extension of Sugar Maple Hills, they should follow the same variances. I would consider 30 feet separation. I strongly oppose the wetland buffers, wetlands changes, weather changes. We need to allow for this and not hem it in. Also, aren't there government regulations for wetlands, and how are they maintained and protected? Why do they require a pump station? Does this go back to my opening statement about changing the dynamic flow of the land? As the resident whose driveway floods when it rains, this didn't happen as bad to that property prior to shifting the height of the grade. Would this pump station be of benefit to this resident? Again, I oppose the change to the resolution of the setback from 40 feet to 22 feet. Most of these requests reduce land by almost half. I also question the load for so many homes on the electric. We lose power constantly as it is. And on the sewer system, which we were told when this land first became available that it couldn't handle a large number of more homes. Will my taxes go up to accommodate all this when it goes RE? Will the township bear the burden like our roads in our neighborhood that were only done to minimum standards and then abandoned by the developer and the county? I understand the right to make money and believe in free enterprise. However, not at the expense of the township or the community. The Sugar Maple Hills HOA has a couple questions as well that they submitted. And they start out with, first, we believe Ryan Holmes is the new developer and wants to know if that is correct. If not, they would like the name and contact information of the developer, the point person, so that they know who to contact directly if they have issues to discuss. We understand that the proposed development will still be in the same 106 units in the same configuration as the proposed by the prior developer. Is that correct? Current guidelines require 50-foot separation between the developments, specifically on Sugar Maple Drive. We want to be assured that there is a minimum of 50 feet between the current property owners at the end of Sugar Maple Drive and the next property in the new development. In addition, we would like some assurance from the developer to make that 50-foot separation nicely landscaped with at least some basic signage acceptable to both developments, which identifies Sugar Maple Hills and Hickory Creek within that landscaped area. They would also like similar signage at the junction of Sugar Maple Hills and Cranberry Creek if the developer or home builder is Ryan Holmes. We want agreement that the developer will not promote our walking trail as part of their sales pitch for homes in Hickory Creek. It appears that there are walking trails within the new development, which we very much favor. We would like signage and a commitment that there would be no construction traffic on Brower Tree Lane and Sugar Maple Drive, preferably more discreet than the big red ones on Route 43 going into Streetsboro. As far as the variances requested, they don't appear to directly affect any of our homeowners, but as a general observation, our board does not favor compromising any wetland protection buffers as it sets a bad precedent for future developments. Sugar Maple Hills HOA Board, Gary Gurdat, Brenda Decker, Janelle Pfeiffer, Joanne Bratton, and Sunshine Warmedal. I have one from Laura Scott, who is writing in response to the development. My concern and quite frankly irritation with any potential variance allowance with regard to the wetlands is that in 2015, I was part of a group who attempted to purchase a portion of land, 13 acres, in question. The purchase fell through only because the county at the time would not give any leeway with regard to the green space or wetlands, and we were outright told we could not put even a shed or a fence on that land. Below and attached is the communication regarding those discussions at the time. I currently reside on Perrywood Lane, and my property backs up to the land where these variances are being requested. At that time, 5 years ago, we had nothing but barriers thrown at us in trying to purchase that land, almost as though the county didn't want to sell to private residents, but instead waiting for a large developer. It was frustrating to have tried to purchase this land to be told we could not buy it, or we could buy it but not touch it, only for it to potentially be sold to a developer to cram as many houses onto the land as possible. I know I'm not alone in my frustration, and I'm sure you'll see other emails from nearby residents and neighbors. I understand the land would and has eventually sold, but I would expect the current owner to have to follow the same guidelines that I was told I had to regarding especially the current 40 and 25 feet wetland protection buffer. I hope my and my neighbor's soured situation regarding this land parcel is remembered and taken into consideration when reviewing the current variances request. She has attached that communication. If anyone is interested in seeing it, it will be part of the record in which she is told that from Claudia James with Portage County, that after talking to the Soil and Water Conservation District, it appears the water quality buffer area must remain as it is because it is a stormwater quality control measure. So that's that letter. I have one from Terry Watt who says, requested for the variances requested for the pump station. We feel that our wetlands were protected for a reason, and the 3 variances would be cumulative, and that each issue must be considered along with the other requests. By making 3 reductions, the station and pavement would be too close to our wetlands, and the only reason would be to add houses, and we feel our wetlands are vital to our community. She goes on to say the section 400.1056L5 requirement for buildings should be 35 feet, and the developer wants to reduce the separation of homes from 35 feet to 20 feet. This leaves the very minimum for safety and makes the lots considerably smaller than existing houses nearby, possibly reducing existing home values. For this reason, we request that you, our Zoning Board of Appeals, deny these variances requests. Thank you, Terry and Christopher Watt. Kim Hutchins says, while this project has taken on many different names over the last few years, the one constant is that whomever decides to develop the land, they make little to no effort to reflect the quality of harmonious feel of Sugar Maple Development Phase 1. The list of variances that you notified us about is once again reflective of that. While I understand that this is now a separate development and no longer part of Sugar Maple, I feel that our phase of this development is paying the price for the original developer abandoning phase 2. Our homes are, for the most part, custom and towards the high end. Everything that has been proposed since Cranberry Creek and now this development are pre-produced cookie cutter homes. While there certainly is a market for these homes, mixing in or surrounding our development is not what any of us signed up for. That being said, I am opposed to any variance for the wetlands. The only amenity that is remaining for some of us is the open space behind the homes on Perrywood Lane, and we adamantly want that preserved. I understand that this development will happen and that it is out of our control. I just request that you do everything in your power to make it an extension of Sugar Maple Phase 1 rather than an entirely different development. Sincerely, Kimberly Hutchings, Perrywood Lane. Tim Content. I have a few questions, comments pertaining to the 5 variance requests. Let's see. First, which way will the proposed sanitary sewer lift station be pumping the sewage? Pumping out to the Malloy Road existing lift station or up Sugar Maple Drive towards or into Sugar Maple Hills development? Second, why is the lift station being moved in the 2020 plans that close to a wetland? In the previous developer plans for 2019, the lift station was located to the southwest of the existing wetland across the street and between 2 proposed building lots. Are these pump station variance requests due to hardship of some kind? In addition, I am thoroughly opposed to passing the variances on the open space side setback and the building separation setback. I feel these variances will negatively impact the valuation of my home and others in Sugar Maple Hills development due to smaller lots and smaller homes being constructed. I also feel there is no visible stated or other hardship that would necessitate variances approval for resolution section 400.10 setback variances to be passed. I am truly not against residential development in Brimfield Township, but I feel we need to abide by the rules and resolutions set forth in our zoning code unless there is a real hardship. Thank you. 10 Compton, Sugar Maple Drive. Jason Barber. I'm writing in regards to the proposed variances and conditional use. We are strongly against allowing homes to be built 20 feet apart from each other. Please stop allowing these developers to change the way Brimfield is set up and the reason so many people are attracted to it. We are aware that 20 foot was allowed in the Cranberry Creek development, but we request you make that the exception, not the norm. The area that is proposed has seen large growth over the recent past, and we don't want it to lose the charm and rural feeling it has. This has already been an uptick in traffic with the current development in the area, and this would add to the problems. We are concerned with the variance that allows this development to encroach on protection buffer of the wetlands. Please protect these natural areas and keep development away. And that was from Jason Barber. Janet Black writes, thank you for your letter. As longtime residents of Brimfield, we've invested more than 40 years of building, improving, and maintaining our property on Malloy Road. After researching these variances, we feel the proposed variances and conditional use are not conducive to this area for obvious reasons, such as the greatly increased density will present a road traffic hazard, as well as noise and air pollution. The single entrance exit is ultimately no more than a private drive of which Brimfield taxpayers will inherit the cost of maintaining without receiving any functional purpose. The wetland buffer area would create an increased mosquito population, and surrounding properties would be decreased in resale value due to these 106 proposed sandwiched houses. Therefore, since personal attendance is not possible at this meeting, we wish to go on record via this communication that we are strongly opposed to all proposed variances for the Malloy Road development being requested by Hickory Creek LLC, Alan and Janet Black. D.S. Modell writes, I am writing in reference to the property at Hickory Creek LLC. There are so many developments in Brimfield that I really start to get concerned with the amount of traffic, the condition of our roads, and the current level of police and fire protection. This is being requested so that the developers can put in even more homes than the original proposal. There are standards, codes, and minimum requirements put into place so that our community can look consistent and appealing to the people that live here and desire to live here. Once the board starts to constantly give in to the developers and or disregard the codes and standards, one has to wonder why we have zoning. Therefore, as a property owner receiving this letter, I have to trust that the zoning board will not give in to these requests. You are our voice. Thank you. And then Andrew Johnson, he has listed the codes that go with each of the variances. He quotes page 17 of our zoning code should be a minor departure or exception. None of the 5 requested variances are a minor departure or exception from the current zoning of R2 for this parcel of land. More than 5 requested variances are used to move this R2 zoned area into an R4 style zoning district. Our wetlands should be protected by a 25-foot buffer as stated in the zoning code. The pumping station should not be allowed to be within 5 feet of the protected wetland area. Section 506.06 C3B should not be modified or reduced. R2 building separations for this area of the community should remain as is. There are concerns about the increase of traffic on Malloy Road with 106 units. An increase of traffic of over 265 car moments per day will increase the danger for the residents on Malloy Road and that of the Brower Tree area. And then the last one is from Donna Hale. Well, actually, Robert and Donna Hale. We feel they are asking too many variances to develop this property. We feel down the road there will be problems with flooding. We would also like to mention that we have called 3 times about the property and the lack of them mowing the lawn on that property. We live across the street and it has not been mowed even once this year. It is an eyesore and several cars have stopped to see if anyone lives there. Robert and Donna Hale. That's all, finally.
Okay, on the conditional permit, if you exclude the wetlands, what were the number? In other words, if you went with without any variances, what would the number of homes be that you could put on the lots? I mean, how much of the open space is wet?
I don't know that I have a percentage. John, can you speak to that?
Yeah, let me.
I do want to emphasize that one of the key elements of the plan is that we're not impacting any of the wetlands at all. We actually have a determination letter from the Army Corps of Engineers, which is the entity that governs jurisdictional wetlands in the United States, and they agree that we have zero wetlands impact, which I think is one of the very most positive elements of this plan. And I know we need to get through the conditional use before we get to the variances, but I just want to quickly state that one of the wetland buffer variances that we're asking for is in order to facilitate greater protection of the wetlands rather than a greater impact on them. And I'll explain that further if and when we get to that variance.
And I guess to go along with that, I don't know if anyone has had a chance to walk the property or view the property, but where we show the wetlands and where I guess the variances are asked for, the current farming operation farmed right up to the wetlands. And so you go from wetlands, which are, somewhat vegetative, to farmland. And so when we ask for these variances, we're not asking to cut down trees or, disturb the, I guess, some kind of natural buffer that's there. Up until, I think they didn't farm last year, but to 2 years, all the property was farmed and tilled, right up to the wetlands. So, and I understand the need for the buffers and the setbacks, and typically that's trying to preserve the natural features that are there to help buffer the wetlands. In this case, we don't have those natural features. It's farmed agriculture. I guess, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, but to go back to your question, are you asking, of the 58 acres, how much of it is wetlands?
Correct. Or how much of it would be usable, let's say, if you weren't using the PRD, if you were just going to set a development out that would cover the whole 90 acres or 95 acres?
The total proposed open space is 58.5 acres. And then there's a line item here. It says the open space minus the wetlands is 47.8. So what's that, roughly 10 acres, 10 to 11 acres are
About
wetlands.
20%. Okay. The calculations done for the number of homes, is that at our maximum, or, I mean, because I know the calculations can vary over a number of homes in that area. That might be something that our zoning inspector may have at hand.
I mean, these calculations pretty much replicate the plan that was, previously approved back in 19.
Right. Okay.
And it probably changed a little bit based on, as Mr. Long stated, that, we moved some of the open space accesses from the previous, really, to create some drainage corridors, and really at the recommendation of the county engineer.
Yeah, he's got the calculations on the plan along with the density bonus factor.
Okay. Do you have any other? Oh, go ahead.
I just want to again state in response to several of the points raised in the letters that the minor changes made to the plan, including the change in the pump station location, were all made based on our consult with various county agencies, recognizing that the prior plan had been submitted prior to that group having performed any actual engineering analysis of the site. So the relocation of a couple of the wetland, or excuse me, not wetland, but open space corridors was done to better accommodate the drainage plan requested by the county subdivision engineer. The location of the pump station is based on the overall topography of the site, and it's deemed to be the most functional location by Portage County Sanitary Engineering.
Okay. The open space themselves, they were going, I mean, aside from the walking trails that you plan to put in, are they going to remain the way they are, unmowed, unkempt, so forth?
The intent is to allow them to remain in their natural state, yes.
And homeowners association going to have to maintain the walking trails, or are they just going to kind of disappear over time?
No, they'll be maintained in perpetuity by the homeowners association, as will the landscape buffers between this project and Sugar Maple Hills that we have formally included as a part of our plan submittal that was a condition of the previous approval.
Okay, so all that has been submitted to the zoning department, or that's gone to regional planning?
Should be a record with both at this point.
Yeah, all the notes and the items have been added to the plan, and your approval of the PRD as the plan. So those notes are kind of incorporated into your approval here.
And then the road, so forth, they will eventually be turned over to the township. That's the hope.
They will be public, yes.
They will be
Public roads. Yes, sir.
Access to the open space, is that public or only to the people who live adjacent to the open space?
It would be intended to be primarily for the benefit of the residents of this community, but there's no intent to specifically restrict or regulate that.
Okay. Do we have any other questions from any of the other board members?
When we did this last year, didn't we have a number of conditions on this PRD that had to do with like building facings, like brick on the front, on the foundation? Do you know what I'm talking about? We had a number of things asking them to make sure it looked the same, congruent.
Well, last time, Sean, I think you're right. We voted on this. We did stipulate that it needs to blend in with Sugar Maple Hills. So I'm almost certain that we agreed to that.
I agree.
I don't see anything related to that in the public record. I will state that I operate a small custom home building company, currently building primarily in Stark County, but we're known for moderately priced but upscale homes. And one of the things we receive a lot of compliments on is the exteriors of our homes, which consist of a lot of stone and shake and other elements. And the intent would be for my custom homes to be built on the lots that are most immediately adjacent to Sugar Maple Hills.
Will you be the sole builder, or will there be other builders in the lot?
There will be other builders in the project. But in order to address some of the concerns expressed by the folks in Sugar Maple Hills, we've determined that I'm going to take the lots most immediately adjacent to Sugar Maple to ensure they're built to an appropriate standard.
But other builders may not build to those standards?
I wouldn't say they won't build to those standards. I would say that the standard that my company builds to tends to be to an above average standard for the marketplace.
I understand you're saying, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I understand as you're saying the ones that you build closest to Sugar Maple Hills will be to a certain standard and match, but we have no guarantee that the other builders will do the same matching. Is that correct?
I wouldn't expect them to necessarily be built to the same standard that our company builds to, but we're certainly going to have minimum architectural standards for the community. Keep in mind, I've got a vested interest in protecting the values of the homes that we build.
I mean, you guys can certainly put as part of a condition that you want some kind of a stone or brick or some kind of a percentage on the fronts of the houses that they all kind of match and blend into sugar maples, because we do have zoning resolutions that it has to match the existing communities in which they surround when you build new.
Putting that condition in would mean any builder would have to follow that, Mike?
Yeah, you can certainly put conditions on this. I mean, this is a conditional approval, so it's a PRD, and if you want to put restrictions and add that you want some architectural features, I don't think there's any problem with that.
Do you know who the other builders will be at this point, or have you not lined up builders yet? I think I've lost your I can't hear you.
You still can't hear you, Pat. Nope.
Switch to headset.
Oh, there you are. You're back, Pat.
I'm back now.
Yeah.
Back.
I was grabbing my headset. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Ryan Homes is the only other builder that we have presently lined up. It would be my company and Ryan Homes and whomever else might become involved.
So you would be able to state that all the homes in development would be, well, maybe not quite up to your standard, at least in appearance, to the homes that you're going to be building?
Yes. Yeah. I'd like to know if we had record of what conditions were.
You're gone again, Pat.
Can't hear
Yeah,
you.
your volume's low and you're gone.
How about this?
That's much better.
Great.
Okay, sorry about that. I don't know why my microphone died. Yeah, we certainly intend to maintain a reasonable architectural standard for the community. I would be interested in knowing what the conditions were previously, because I didn't see any reference to that in any of the public record documents that we were provided. But things like brick or stone facing on the front foundation band will definitely be a requirement. I heard that being mentioned as one of the criteria.
I think that's the main concern. I think a lot of sugar maples has brick or stone or masonry on the fronts, and they want to keep it uniform going through as you're pulling in one and going to another subdivision. I think they want to keep that uniformity and that look.
I mean, I can't commit to brick or stone on the entire front elevation, nor do I believe that to be consistent with what's built in sugar maple presently. I believe they all have brick or stone on the foundation band, and some brick or stone accents on the front elevations, which would be typical of our construction.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at in a suggestion to the board, maybe brick to grade or stone to grade.
Absolutely, that will be a requirement.
I mean, that's a common requirement in most areas, brick or stone to grade. You're going to see those changes come anyway into their zoning resolution, so that wouldn't be a bad one to put in, as well as a certain percentage of stone or brick on the front as well.
Do we know what those regulations are now for Sugar Maple Hills, so we can match those?
You know, I'm just going through there. It looks like at least 20% of the front has got some kind of architectural stone or brick feature in addition to the brick or stone to grade.
I'm always reluctant to add a specific percentage, because I believe that is oftentimes creates a kind of a forced effect on the architecture. Communities where we built that have had that requirement tend to be more monotonous rather than less. I think a certain degree of architectural flexibility is desirable.
Yeah, you wouldn't want something. You definitely want to, in my opinion, definitely want brick or stone to grade at a minimum.
Agreed. That's agreed 100%.
And then if you guys want to put on an additional percentage as a feature around windows or whatever, that's fine. Or maybe in a different architectural approach, but it may be something different than just a simple siding in the front. You know, if they want to change the characteristics of the siding and go vertical and horizontal, some kind of architectural features you could impose on that if you want as a condition.
I think what, in sugar maple, you think there's 15 to 20% stone above grade? Something in that area?
Yeah, it's pretty uniform as you drive through that every house. I mean, there may be an exception here or there, but all of them are pretty much custom built homes. Then they do have stone or brick on them. So
Sugar Maple's guidelines was 25% brick or stone.
there you go. And I guessed 20, so I wasn't too far off.
Okay, do we have a number that we're comfortable with?
I'm really reluctant to assign some kind of arbitrary percentage. My experience has been that creates a monotony rather than an appropriate variety within a community. And monotony has a negative impact on values rather than positive when you force those kind of things. I'd be much more comfortable with something that provided for a reasonable degree of flexibility, something along the lines of, must consist of I'm struggling for the right language here, but a variety of accents that could consist of brick, stone, shakes, and or vertical siding, keeping in mind that we will have as a part of our architectural control for this community, architectural approval by the declarant, us, for each home that's to be built. A builder can't simply come in and throw up whatever it is they want. And as I stated, I personally, for my company, have a vested interest in ensuring that the overall community is built to an appropriate standard.
Am I able to speak at this point?
Yeah, I'm just curious. Did we, Jendi? I'm sorry, I don't have those. I'm taking a look. Do we have his standards for construction on his houses for this development? Because I don't recall seeing.
No, Michael, you don't, because I wasn't aware that they'd be necessary.
Okay. I mean, that's something that the board might want to consider if you want to you continue this till the next meeting and ask for that. If he's opposed to any kind of restrictions in the stone, you could always go ahead and move this to another meeting where he could supply that, and you guys could have some time to take a look at it. But that's just a suggestion.
Right. Now, I would like to see the type of buildings that you're talking about. I guess mostly I'm mostly concerned with keeping it fairly harmonious with what's already there. And I guess that's what you're talking about.
The one distinction I would draw between this community and Sugar Maple Hills is that while yes, it's denser, we're also preserving a much greater percentage of open space than Sugar Maple Hills did. And of course, that's really what the PRD is all about, is trade-offs. We're trading off smaller lots and slightly lesser building separation for the fact that we're leaving over half our site, even taking wetlands out of the equation, we're leaving over half our site undeveloped. If you look at the plan and look at the amount of open space area separation between us and Sugar Maple Hills all along the back of the adjacent street, I believe it's Perrywood. There's a considerable amount of separation there that wouldn't be required under a non-PRD type plan. I mean, under a conventional zoning arrangement, you could literally have backyard to backyard. We believe this is a much superior plan in the amount of open space that it preserves and the amount of separation that it creates against the existing community. So I hope that all of those factors are being considered in the analysis, and I believe that's in no small part why the plan was approved previously.
Right. Okay. Another thing, everything, you'll have the normal lighting district will be in the area?
For street lighting?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and are we looking at sidewalks, curbs, gutter?
Curb and gutter and sidewalk, yes.
Was it Gary that asked if he had time to talk, or?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if my microphones worked or not.
Okay.
This is my first time using Zoom.
Okay. All righty. Well, welcome. You're concerned then?
Well, I was just concerned where he was speaking about monotony. I think that's more a matter of the design of the home rather than what you put on the front of it. If you put up monotonous houses and you just change the stone or the siding a little bit, that's a different issue. I also wanted to go back, and I'm not entirely sure if Mr. Long is the developer and is having other builders come in, or if he's part of a group of builders. Is this Ryan Holmes building it and he is part of that? I'm kind of confused as to, who's behind this.
Would you like me to speak to that?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. The entity that would be developing this is Hickory Creek LLC. I am a member of Hickory Creek LLC along with a couple of partners, and I would be the construction manager for the project. We've got extensive development experience throughout Stark and Summit counties. I personally did do a development in Portage County a number of years ago, if you're familiar with Chapman's Farm off of County Road 18. I also...
Can I ask who the partners are that you're in alliance with?
Two other individuals, fellows named Ralph Razinger and Rich Vostok.
Okay. So.
And 1 minute, Gary, who are you representing?
I'm on the Homeowner Association Board for Sugar Maple Hills.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. All right. It appeared to me, Mr. Long, that you indicated that Ryan Holmes was going to be one of the other builders.
That is correct.
Are they going to be the predominant builder?
They will be building in there along with my home building company.
Are they going to be predominantly building most of the 106 units?
They will be building a greater percentage than my company does. I don't know that I would ascribe it as predominant.
Okay. Thank you.
Hence why we need to put in these conditions to make sure they're all the same.
Well, you have a section, and this is part of the conditional use requirements, general requirements 400.10. And then it talks about harmonious. Will be harmonious with, in accordance with the general objectives, specifics, be designed, constructed, operated, and maintained to be harmonious and appropriate in appearance with the existing or intended character of the general vicinity. So it goes on and on about that, but you definitely want to get it harmonious with that, or otherwise it would be another variance.
I would be interested in seeing what we're, so if you're reluctant to give a certain percentage of structural brick, whatever on the facing, I would actually be interested in seeing even literature or photos of what you've already built and what you're planning to build here.
I wish I had a way to do that here tonight. Had I known, we would have included that as part of the submittal. I'm looking around my office here to see if I have any pictures I could hold up and show you.
Do we have the ability to share Pat's screen?
No, we don't. So we have the ability to continue the meeting, and you can submit everything in, and then we'd have to have the general public be able to view all this. So the
only
way our-
reluctance I have for that, Michael, is that's going to present a hardship on us in that we really need to get our earthwork underway while the seasons are still conducive for that.
Well, the other option that happens, though, is that you'll need another variance. I mean, there's a section of the code here that talks about harmonious to the homes and the existing homes of that nature. So we don't even have that. It would be another meeting regardless. If that's why I brought up the stone or brick to grade, as well as, I thought it was 20%. Somebody corrected me and said it was 25% of the frontage of Sugar Maples is stone or brick. It's got to stay the same. Otherwise it's going to throw off the neighborhood.
I guess I'm wondering why we're being held to a different standard than what was approved in March of 19. That's what's confusing to me, and I apologize for my confusion. As I said, had I seen anything of that in the prior approvals, we certainly would have been prepared to discuss that and would have included examples in our submittal. But
I can remember those meetings pretty clearly, and I don't have the minutes in front of me, but I do remember the meetings specifically because we had the meeting room stacked with Sugar Maples, and the developer and the builder were there discussing the home types, and he had several examples and exhibits of the amount of brick he was putting in. So I don't think it was a question. I think that they came in and actually said they were doing the same type of homes as Sugar Maples, regardless of who the builder was. And at the time, I believe it was K. Hovenian.
Okay, I don't see that reflected in the minutes from that meeting, but perhaps it was done orally and not recorded.
What is the average price point that you're looking at for the homes in the area?
You know, it's always impossible to predict where the market will go. I would say in a very similar community where we're currently building in Stark County, a community called Wicker Creek, my company's sales thus far have averaged just over 300, probably 315.
Then the Ryan homes will be a little bit less than that.
I would expect them to be slightly less than that. Yeah. But again, in terms of the exterior detailing, we do hold them to a comparable standard because, as I said, we've got a vested interest in protecting the values of the community.
Do we have any other comments from the board or any suggestions?
If I could ask a question.
Yes, go ahead.
I was just curious, do you have, Mr. Long, do you have like a set number of home styles that you and your associates are going to be building? I mean, are we looking at 4 different styles or 10 different styles or?
Well, first of all, we are a custom builder, so we do customize. So we operate from a set portfolio of plans, but we allow the buyer to customize pretty much to their heart's content. If it'll fit on the home site appropriately and can be accomplished structurally and is architecturally appropriate, then we'll allow it. So while we operate from a portfolio of plans, one could literally say that the homes my company constructs are each one of a kind.
Okay, I guess I understand that, though, due to lot size, that kind of limits some of the options that you have. But again, you're only going to be building some of the homes. I assume Ryan will be building most of the homes. And I understand what you're saying, that you're a custom builder, but are most of the homes going to be limited to 4 or 5 choices?
My experience in building in communities where Ryan Homes also builds, and I'm currently in 1, 2, 3, 4 communities in Stark County where Ryan is also building, and they have built 10 or more different home plans with multiple elevations per plan in each one of those communities. So even though you may go to their website and only see 4 or 5 plans, when you walk into their model, you'll see a multiple of that available. And again, each one of those with 4, 5, 6 different elevations available on it. So we've been able, in working in communities with them, we've been able to achieve a great degree of variety in the streetscapes, and that's something that we definitely hold them to.
Okay.
Well, hence why we're talking about these conditions in the first place, that you say you will follow, but we don't know if they will.
They'll have to. They'll have to, because our group, our Hickory Creek LLC, will maintain architectural approval, architectural control, we call it, for the entire community. They'll have to submit their plans to us for approval. And they've agreed to do so.
Will 2 of the same style homes be allowed to be built side by side?
No. No, that's something that we never allow.
Do you have a standard now for that? Like every other lot, 3 lots, 4 lots?
3 lots away.
What is the square footage for a home?
I don't know that we've fully determined that yet. That'll be a function of market conditions at the time building starts, but I would expect it to range from between possibly 1,600 on the low end for a ranch home, keeping in mind that a 1,600 square foot ranch home is a big footprint. on up to, in our company's case, I'm sure will be 3,500 or greater on the high end. I would expect the average to be between 2,500 and 2,600 square feet.
Are you able to set a requirement as far as square footage? I know in Sugar Maples, we have a requirement.
What is the minimum requirement in Sugar Maple?
Gary, can you help me out on that one?
I can look it up. I'll get back to you.
I'm wanting to say 2,500, but I'm not sure.
That would exclude ranches then.
Yeah, 2,500 doesn't make any sense for a single family or single story home, which is typically these days being built by empty nester couples that are interested in simplifying. They will typically spend equal to or greater than what one would spend on a 2,500 square foot two-story, but again, I think the better approach than arbitrary square footage minimums would be to regulate architecture as we're proposing. I can build a row of 2,500 or even 3,000 square foot homes that would be an absolute blight on the community. And conversely, I could build, homes in the 16, 17, 18, 1,900 square foot range, again, single story, that would be an absolute asset and enhancement to the community. So architectural control is far more effective than arbitrary limits based on numbers, percentages, etc.
This is Sue Underwood.
Just to answer the question, for Sugar Maple Hills, it was 1,900 square feet for a one-story dwelling, 2,100 square feet for 1.5 story or Cape Cod, and 2,300 for a two-story dwelling.
Oh, Gary, this is Sue Underwood. I'm pretty sure when I built mine, they said 2,000 for a one story.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble understanding you. Who is this?
This is Sue Underwood.
Okay, I see.
You're saying, I know when I built mine, they told us 2,000 square feet.
Okay, well, I just read the architectural guidelines, so.
Okay.
Well, do we have any recommendations from the board as far as the permit is concerned? Do you want to take the opportunity to have them bring images, so forth, present images, whatnot, of what they're building, or do you wish to try to find some other? I understand. I don't know that I was at the original hearing, so, but both Clayton and Sean said that they do remember this percentage of brick or stone facing. I would have to go along with them because, like I said, I don't remember.
Yeah, that's definitely not recorded in the public record. I have the minutes here. So if there is some record of that, I'd very much appreciate having that brought to our attention. We'd certainly want to consider that in any further presentation we'd make. Based on the direction this is taken and the fact that we weren't prepared to speak to some of these points since there'd been no prior record of them having been raised. I don't know what the formal process is, but I guess I'm going to ask that we we table this to your next meeting if we could. That will create a hardship for us because, you know, now is the time of year we should be commencing earthwork. But I guess I just don't feel adequately equipped to speak to some of the architectural aspects that are being raised here.
Right. I mean, since that's what we're looking at, and you're stating that you would like some flexibility here, if we have some idea of what your architectural requirements will be for both you and Ryan Homes, I think that would be appropriate. So if we have a motion to continue or table this until the next meeting.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Could I ask a question before you do that? Is there ability to, I guess, are we just tabling this one item? Will we continue with the variance request? Or will we table the entire?
It would, well, yeah, we won't be able to get to the variances without the conditional permit.
Right. I guess my question, is there an ability to, I guess, for the group to, I guess I'd hate to come back at a next meeting and then find out we have some questions, unanswered questions on the other submittal items. I mean, is there anything that the board members would like to see or need to see on the variance request so we can provide a total package with our resubmittal?
Okay, I guess that's fair enough.
Well, to answer that question, Bruce, while you're looking that up, I mean, since we're asking about different architectural standards, I'd like to know what all the other lot widths and standards and setbacks are in the adjoining development.
In other words, the size of lots in Sugar Maple, is that what you're asking?
Setbacks, everything.
I've got the guidelines up here.
I have all the PRDs and all the setbacks throughout the whole community that I could send off to you if you need to. But we have 43 different PRDs with all the setbacks and pretty much requirements, if the board would like.
Yeah, so the first variance that there would be requesting is the basically 20 feet between building envelopes. So a 10-foot setback from the, I'm sorry, I'm actually looking at the wrong one. The first one is the setback for the area from the open space should be 15 feet, and they're requesting 10 feet from the open space. And then the second one will be the 20-foot separation between building envelopes, where it is currently a 35-foot. And so they're requesting a 15-foot variance to allow for the homes to be closer together. And then the next one is requesting the wetland protection buffer of 10 feet per zoning resolution. Our current resolution indicates a protection buffer of 25 feet. So they'd be requesting a 15-foot variance. And then the next one is for the pumping station to be built 5 feet from the wetland protection buffer. And again, that's another, our book indicates 25 feet, which would be a variance of 20 feet. And then the last variance is, again, about the pumping station, requesting pumping station building and pavement setback of 22 feet from the wetlands protected buffer. The zoning resolution requires 40 feet, so a variance of 18 feet. I guess the only questions on any of those would be, you indicated that the Army Corps of Engineers has directed you to build these smaller setbacks. Is that correct? You have the letter?
No, the Army Corps of Engineers determined that we're not impacting any of the wetlands on the site.
Okay,
The variances are to facilitate some stormwater management issues, to prevent runoff from the sites from entering the wetlands, and the pump station location is based on an engineering analysis done in concert with Portage County Sanitary Engineering, determining that the most topographically efficient location for the pump station is in its new location as presented here.
okay. So those would be the variances. If we have any other questions, I'm assuming that if we come up with something in the next couple of days, we could forward them.
You can always ask for the appearance of the county engineer. He's the one that actually called me on this with the variances with the plan. I didn't have the plan. He had this plan and he says, hey, you know, there's variances requested on this that are going into the buffer for the wetland, and I don't see the variances through the BZA. And I said, that's because my drawing doesn't show that. And then that's what prompted all this, because his plan was different than mine. That's why we're
Okay.
here tonight. We could always request his appearance at the next meeting if you would like.
That would probably be beneficial.
I
So,
agree.
mean, and then in which case he would be able to explain exactly what it is and why we're looking for the variances. So,
That's correct.
all right. So if the members of the board would have a motion, and then I would suggest that if anybody has additional questions, review the application currently and make sure that we get them to Jendi so she can forward them so that they can be as prepared as possible for next month.
Sounds good.
Okay, so if we have a motion, tabling the motion or tabling it would be until the next scheduled meeting. Continuing it would be a mandatory next month meeting. So if we have a motion, please.
Could I request that be a motion for continuance then?
Fine with me. It's up to the board.
I would move that we continue it.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to continue. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we will see you next month.
Okay, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman, do you have a date for the next meeting?
I do. It's September 16th, and it'll be at 7 p.m. It will be a virtual meeting as well.
And then a deadline for submittal to let you do your stuff before the meeting, Jendi?
Honestly, since I have a lot of the things, I would like to have it a week prior. That will give me time to get it onto the website and for other people to see it and that type of thing.
Okay,
So
thank you.
I would recommend that the board, if they have any questions, get them to Jendi in the next month or in the next week. I'm sorry.
The sooner the better. I mean, it's
Sooner
just
the better, correct.
because then if anybody else has anything they want to add to it, we have time.
All righty. Thank you. And then we'll be able to request the engineer to join us at the next meeting as well.
Yeah, you could actually use that subpoena power, those forms that we gave you if you want to do that.
Oh, maybe we should just request. We need an actual motion, though, to request him to be here.
You should.
Okay.
Yes.
I will entertain a motion then to request that the engineer show up next month.
I make a motion that the engineers show up next month.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to request that the Portage County, is it water engineer engineering?
Sanitary engineer.
No, it's a Portage County engineer.
Okay. If he could join us next month, please. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All righty, thank you. Do we need to have a motion to continue everything, or will everything just carry with the original motion?
I would continue all variances. I don't think you need to go one by one because the conditional use was not approved yet.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to continue all of the variance applications as well.
I'll make the motion to continue all the variance applications.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to continue the variances, the variance applications. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All righty, I believe that takes care of most of that paperwork. So we have one variance application left. This is for Gerard Vincel.
Jared Vansel.
Thank you. A variance request, requesting variance for a side setback of 7 feet from property line of the access for an accessory building. Per the zoning resolution, accessory buildings shall meet all requirements of the zoning district. Side setback is 15 feet. So they're requesting a variance of 8 feet. There was also a note that the current in process of changing the book would actually make this variance unnecessary, but for now we have to go with it. So, do we have Jared here, please?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay, there we are. Okay, go ahead and tell us what it is and why you want this variance.
It's a dry storage. I got a finished basement, so I don't really have too much room to put anything seasonal stuff. Between storage, cars, accessory stuff like that.
So it's all personal use only? No, you're not going to put a business in it, or?
No.
Okay. Okay, let me find the map.
Appearance-wise, is it going to look similar to the current structure around there?
Yeah. It's just a square building.
And the reason it has to go where we're talking about, it looks like a pretty good sized building.
There.
So you need the variance in order to make it the size that you need. Is that correct?
Yeah, because I kind of want to have it in uniform with the driveway. I don't want to have it in the middle of the middle of the backyard, more likely to with the 15.
So it's this yellow box that's inside the fence. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, it's kind of.
Now the sheds behind the fence, is that on someone else's property?
In the picture, that's the neighbor's shed.
Okay. The building itself, what percentage of the backyard is it going to take up?
It's a 30 by 40.
The barn is, or the building is.
The
How
building.
large is the backyard?
I think from the back of the building, I think there was still about 25 to 30 feet from the fence.
What we're looking at is just the sideline variance.
Right.
Mike, does he meet the minimum requirements for space coverage?
So here's the funny thing, and I know we talked about this at the beginning, but the zoning commission has reviewed and approved 5-foot setbacks for this in all the areas, in all the residence areas, as well as swimming pools. So that also went to regional planning, which it did get passed and approved for Brimfield. We are just awaiting for the trustees at the next meeting, which is actually next Wednesday, when they're voting on it. I would assume, I mean, I can't officially give him and grant him the zoning permit at this time, but from every indication that is going to be approved next week. So the only thing is he submitted this prior to all these things being approved. And
Great. So, but I guess the question was, is there not a percentage of the backyard that we're allowed to put a building on?
You could go any size structure. There is a percentage of land use. I think he fits all our zoning resolutions, though.
Okay, that was the question.
That was the
Okay.
question.
On the drawing that he submitted, Jared is showing that it's 36 feet from the rear property line to where his building is. So he's got the 36 feet. It's the side setback that he needed the variance for, because he's going 8 feet instead of what has been required as 15 foot.
Right, he's going 7 feet instead of 8. Okay, yeah, no, I found the other picture where it does show that he's at least got, probably it's only going to be about 35 or 40% of the backyard, so.
Yeah,
Right.
he's good
Yeah,
with height and good with the size. Everything looks.
So it will, I think Vince already asked, it will be harmonious with the home, so forth. How about lighting? Are you intending on running electricity, lighting the building?
Not at the moment, no.
It would be, the only thing we're interested in is that if you do light it, that the light does not leave your yard, so to speak. So in other words, we don't want your neighbors complaining because when they look out their bedroom window, you've lit up the backyard like the Griswold Christmas. So.
Just during December?
Yeah.
I did send out letters also on this to nearby residents, and there's been no feedback whatsoever. So
Okay.
There you go.
What about, you going to be handling the water? Is it, downspout drain, or are you just going to let it roll off the roof, or what's the plan?
That I'm not sure on. I'm thinking probably some type of downspouting. That would be, I'm not sure where would I be able to run that to? If there'd be some type of like a dry well, or what do they be able to tie into something?
Only stormwater, if they have stormwater in the area. Or are you on septic?
Storm.
Okay.
Just not sure exactly where that's actually at.
So Al, you're just stating though that you'll be taking the water off the roof of the building and running it to, as long as it doesn't run to your neighbor's yard, that's what I'm.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. No, I won't do that.
All right, do we have any other questions from any of the board members? Okay. Then do we have a motion?
I guess I'll make the motion that we, since it's going to be approved later on anyhow.
All right.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty. Speak with the zoning inspector tomorrow and he'll get you your permit.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You have a good night.
Dude.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, and then we'll see you on the next one.
Okay, so we have anything for the good of the order? Okay, nothing? Nothing coming up that we need to worry about? Like sheets?
What happened?
So they're
we
coming
still
under-
looking?
They're coming. Yeah, they're going to. I have a meeting with them Monday, and they're going to be coming in for uses not covered in the town center. But you know, the use is my only thing is the use is covered. It's just not in a zoning district. So,
Right.
So
what are they looking? Are they looking right there in front of the elementary school? That's correct? Okay.
Is that going to be on the same meeting as next month?
Yes. It looks like that's what's going to happen.
It could be a 3 or 4 hour meeting.
It could be.
It most likely will be. I still have to figure out how I'm going to enter into the record the 76 emails I have received.
Yeah, there's got to be a way other than reading every single one of those.
Yeah.
There is a way. There is a way.
We may have to put them online or something.
We might have to post them online and let everybody read them, and then just read them, and then you'll have to make a motion at the meeting that you're accepting all those letters that are online and posted online into the record, you know.
Right,
Yep.
and then maybe just a general statement of feeling that all of the letters make.
Yes.
Okay,
That sounds good.
so our next meeting is set for September 16th.
Correct.
I will entertain one more motion. I guess you guys want to stay here.
Move to adjourn.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed. All righty. Have a good night, everyone.
You too. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Aye.
Yep, bye.